Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Welcome to day number 2 of the Markvar Invitational. So yesterday our first edition AD&D Fighter was able to cut through quite a few goblins. I think it was 12? Yeah, 12 goblins altogether. So today we're going to see what our second edition AD&D Fighter can do. At this point in time, the apartment building that I live in, they're doing some construction work. I guess there was a burst pipe running through the underneath the floor in the hallway out in the bottom floor. So you're probably going to hear some construction noises. I'm going to try to cut out any of the loud stuff. But if you hear any construction noises, the canonical reason for it is that Markvar's keep is undergoing some repairs, so they decided to move outside, but you can still kind of hear the stuff off in the distance. So we're just going to kind of get right into it more or less here. The first thing I just want to do is show off the character a little bit just to explain some of the differences. There's not actually a ton of differences with this character other than the stats. So we've got our 1863 strength, so 18 strength, 63% exceptional strength. Gives us a hit probability of 2, so that adjusts our to hit number, and a damage adjustment of 3. And that's really the only major important numbers you need to worry about. Of course, the Constitution of 16 gives us only +2 hit points in 2nd edition AD&D. In 1st edition, our 16 Constitution got our fighter 3 hit points. In 2nd edition, the fighter doesn't get 3 hit points until a 17 con, interestingly enough. The 12 dexterity just gives 0 adjustments across the board. Now, as far as equipment goes, I wanted to buy a better suit of armor, but the only other set of armor that I could really afford, other than chainmail, was banded mail. Or not banded mail, I should say, scale mail, which would have cost most of my funds. But I could have picked it up. The issue is that the scale mail is actually worse in terms of armor ratings. So the scale mail with a shield was the equivalent to just the chainmail without a shield. So this guy once again just has chainmail. It's got a body shield. The one major change in equipment is I actually got a broadsword instead of a longsword. And the reason for that is the longsword does 1d8 damage, but the broadsword does 2d4, so it has a higher minimum. So with the +5 damage adjustment that I have for being specialized, as well as the exceptional strength, I do a minimum of 7 points of damage. So even if I gave this goblin maximum hit points, each of the goblins max hit points, there's very, 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 very low chances that any of them would survive a single hit. So that's pretty well it. We've got our dice here, so these are going to be our goblin dice. We've got the d20 for attacks, d6 for damage, and a d10 for the weapons. Now in this case, our weapons, so our initiative uses the d10s. We add the speed factor to those rolls, and whoever gets the lowest goes first. The goblin's using a short sword with a speed factor of 3, and our broadsword, much like the longsword, still has a speed factor of 5. So for Athem, our 2nd edition Athem, we have just the d20, the d10 for the initiative, and we got the 2d4. So hopefully those will show up decently on camera. So I'm just going to actually zoom in a little bit here. Alright, so we've got, of course, Tar in the background there, overseeing everything. Our 1st edition AD&D Fighter is still recovering, since he only gets 1 hit point back a day. So he'll be resting for about 2 weeks before he's up and able to really do anything again. But we've got our 4th and 5th edition fighters here, and our 3.5 greatsword wielding character, all watching on. So without further ado, let's just kind of get right into it here. Well, so Tar gives the order for the combat to commence. So again, the goblins, what's at stake for them is... Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, so what happens is the goblin that lands the blow that knocks the fighter down earns its freedom. And I know that there's really no reason for me to have to come up with stuff like this. I just thought that I would try to do something to make it seem a little interesting, so I thought I'd give a little bit of a story and motivations behind why this is happening. So all these other fighters want to prove themselves in front of Markvar, and each of the goblins wants to earn their freedom. So getting right into the first round of combat here. Now with second edition, the other thing is that the fighter earns 2 attacks every second round. And the way that that works is they get 1 attack on their initiative order, and then they get 1 attack at the end of the round. So first round is just normal, regular 1 attack. Alright, and we have a total of 13 for Ethan, plus 5 for his broadsword for the speed factor. So he's going to go on 13. The Goblin's only going to go on 7. So our Goblin gets to go first. One thing I will say also about the second edition fighter, and why I don't think he's going to have as good a chance as the first edition fighter did, is that his armor class is actually lower, or sorry, it's worse than the non-optimized character, because I actually had a high enough dexterity to adjust my armor class down 1. So this one is actually going to be easier to hit overall, and easier to hit than our previous character. And I think I'm going to actually go around and change the names, since I already had Ethan yesterday. I'll keep this one the same, but I think starting with the third edition character, which is obviously going to have a different name because I'm making her female, you have each of these actually have characters, and I'll actually, why don't I rename this guy right now? I'm just going to name him Aiden Pym. So we're going to name him Aiden instead. Okay, so we got Aiden, our second edition AD&D Fighter, and yeah, so the Goblin's going to get to go first, however. So the Goblin hits on a 16 plus on the d20, and that is a 13. So the first stab with the short sword just kind of gets caught up on Aiden's chainmail. Hopefully not painmail. And in response, Aiden slashes forward with his broadsword and misses pretty bad himself. So they have an armor class of 6. He's got a THAC of 17. He only needs to roll an 11 to hit. It just didn't happen here. So next round. This is our 2 attack round. So our Goblin goes on 4. And Aiden rolled a 4. So he's going to go on 9. Alright, so our Goblin gets another chance here, but misses horribly, doesn't even come close to hitting. Aiden easily dodges out of the way. And Aiden strikes back with his broadsword, rolling a 14, only needing to roll an 11. And does middle of the road damage, but that is still 9 points to our 4 hit point Goblin. So he goes down. That is our first casualty. Alright, so we have another one just kind of moves up, takes his place. But because that happened, and the Goblin's already gone, Aiden loses his second attack. Now I could have him move forward and make it, but in this case he already killed the Goblin. There's no other Goblin that, to move into him. So that's it for that. New round. Alright, Goblin goes on 6, and Aiden goes on 15, so it's gonna be a while for him. So the Goblin attacks, 19 on the dice, so that's actually a hit, and it takes 5 of Aiden's 12 hit points, so it hits him pretty hard, dropping him down to 7, so he gets 1 good stab in there. Aiden kind of moves out of the way before it goes too deep, but it still cuts him pretty bad. In response, Aiden rolls a 17, so this Goblin, of course, is obviously near max damage as well. So that Goblin just gets cleaved in half as Aiden kind of clutches at his side. Another Goblin moves up. And another round of initiative. This is also a thing where the second attack every other round may not come into play as much because he hits on a much higher roll. So odds are there's not going to be another Goblin for that second attack to go off against. But what we have here is Aiden goes on 11 and 8 for the Goblin. Alright, so the Goblin making a swing just misses. I need to roll 16. That is a 15, so Aiden swings in response. He only got a 4, so he actually missed with the first attack. End of the round comes, so anyone with extra attacks gets their extra attack. And that is a 13. Whoops, that is a 13 on the dice. The only thing about doing the 2d4s is that they're very difficult to pick up. I don't want to reach over with my other hand either because I've knocked over the cameras in the past doing that. Max damage, just obliterates the third goblin. Alright, and that was with his second attack. Next goblin moves up. Next round starts. Goblin goes on 4. And Aiden goes on 8. So, next goblin misses. Aiden, natural 20. So yeah, I'm not going to bother rolling at this point. But that got him. So, another goblin moves up. And just kind of pile these all over here. Alright. Ooh. Goblin goes on 13. Oh, we have a tie for initiative. So the goblin goes on 13, and Aiden goes on 13. So, I'm going to roll both dice at the same time, simultaneous combat. And they both manage to strike each other. So, the goblin sinks his short sword into Ethan's side, pierces him on the other side, just as Ethan is bringing down his sword. Again, he's instantly going to kill the goblin, so I'm not going to bother rolling his damage anymore, just because those d4 are very difficult to pick up. But the goblin still gets his swing in, and only does 1 point though. So Aiden is down to 6 hit points. He is now in danger of being knocked unconscious by the next hit. Now the goblin moves up. New initiative. The goblin goes on 10, so I think the goblins are starting to lose their nerve a little bit. Aiden actually goes on 8, so Aiden's going to go first. This is just a one attack round. The last one would have been 2, but he killed the goblin on the first swing. And he's going to kill this one. So that is another goblin down. However, the goblin still gets to go for this round, or the goblins still get to go for this round. So another one just steps up. And again, just misses, rolling a 15 on the die. Next round, a 2 attack round. Okay, so Aiden goes on 10, and our goblin goes on 7. So this goblin's a little braver. Sees the blood pouring out of both sides of Aiden's body here, and manages to land a blow. So this could be it. Our goblin strikes. This could be the one that puts him down. And it is. I rolled a 6 on the dice. So Aiden goes down, just gets stabbed by the goblin. Down he goes, knocked unconscious. This goblin earns his freedom and scurries off. But how do we do? Now again, the one thing I really do want to mention with these fights is that they are in no way going to be, the ones shown on camera are going to indicate exactly how the fights are going to go. Just because there's a lot of randomness involved in these situations. So, just because he didn't get to kill as many as the first edition AD&D Fighter did yesterday, there is a good chance that the first edition AD&D Fighter's battle from yesterday is sort of, I don't want to say a fluke, but on the higher end of the spectrum. So anyway, we'll see how it works out on Friday with the final results. But we've got 2, 4, so he got 6 goblins killed. And he is then taken off to have his wounds bandaged. So he was actually knocked precisely to 0. And I want to say that happened yesterday too, which is kind of interesting. The reason that I think being knocked to 0 is kind of interesting is because tomorrow we're doing our 3rd edition character. And in 3rd edition, being knocked to 0 doesn't actually knock you unconscious right away. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens as well. So anyway, that is our day 2. We've got 6 goblins killed, so only half the goblins of our 1st edition AD&D Fighter. But we'll see what happens at the end of the week, because there are other 2nd edition fighters that are taking part in this challenge as well, just not the ones being observed personally by Tar himself. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed the series so far. I've had a lot of fun doing it, and be sure to come back tomorrow when our 3.5 edition fighter, female fighter Lux, with her greatsword, gets her swing at some goblins. So thank you guys again very much for watching. Tar Markvar approves. We'll see you tomorrow.